Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm here with Brother T. I'm your host, Jason Keaton, and we are very excited to have you with us today. Brother T, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm got a little bit different environment this week. I'm hanging out at my daughter's house. They went to the Abacos Islands to do a little sailing. I wish I'd have gone with them.
That sounds amazing.
A nice adventure for them. So I'm taking care of the animals, the chickens and the cats and the dogs.
Farmer T. Right?
Yeah.
So, well, excellent. It sounds like they're out in nature a little bit, so it sounds amazing, actually. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, it's a big news week, right? I mean, like all of this stuff going on between Musk and Trump. You want to talk about that at all, and how navigating that, being a spiritual being?
Well, you get to ask the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I rarely watch the news, but I am in society, and it seems like that's all everybody's talking about. I mean, all I hear is about this drama between Musk and Trump, and you know, people are watching their stocks and worrying about this and worrying about that. And I have to say, I have just kind of been oblivious to a lot of it, and I kind of flow, and I think that's being present and being part of the flow of the universe is really nice. But I'm not wanting to ignore, you know, what's going on in people's reality.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's bring in a little counsel. So let's just take a good deep breath. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. And it is with gratitude that we begin our conversation today here on The Second Coming. And I am particularly grateful to have my brother Jason here today, asking these very important questions and helping us to consider these kind of issues on our spiritual journey. And so we're going to call forth the guidance from our higher self, our true self. We're also going to call in the Holy Spirit, and we'll call in Jesus, and we'll call in the guides, and we'll call in everyone that wants to participate in this conversation at the level of Christ consciousness. So we allow only that which expresses Christ consciousness, and only that which is in harmony with the purpose of being. The Father's will, not mine, be done. And may the affections of this gathering and this consciousness and this conversation affect all of mankind, literally, and enhance their vibrational field as well. Because there is much that can be done to change the consciousness of this planet, and that's what we're about here at The Second Coming. So we're grateful for those that are participating with us in our journey here at True Thought, and we are grateful to have this time together with everyone in our family of community that are committed to awakening from the dream of illusion. It will be so. Behold, we make all things new. And so it is. God is. God is. God is. Well, so here's a question to ponder for the audience, and Jason, you can consider it yourself a little bit as you will. So let's say that we lived in a real, let's just go back 40 years ago, okay? That would be around the 1980s. And we lived in a quaint little community somewhere in Italy or somewhere in the United States, but it was only a community of maybe a couple thousand people that were well settled in their lifestyles, and there was great community there. There was great camaraderie. There was commitment to, at least on a certain level, for self, advancement, for self-improvement. There was neighborly love. There were brothers and sisters and parents that were, concerned about their children, but not limiting them and not making all their decisions about fear. They were just letting their children live and play, and they were living and playing, and there was a lot of love in those communities. And That's where we were. We were there about 40 years ago. But in one little location in the little town that we were in, there was an insane asylum. And we knew some people in the insane asylum, and so we would go visit from time to time. And it was really interesting because we would go in there and they would be making up some of the craziest stories. And they were almost always mostly concerned about fear. They were living in a mind of panic often. They believed that people were out to get them. They were kind of having, well, they had some level of psychotic break, and they were just, they had some assistance. They had people there that would help them out, and depending on their personal condition, each person there was loved and cared for. But we didn't really want to go spend the whole day there every day, and really we like to go bless those people with some love and compassion and empathy for their situation. But when we did what we went to do, we would leave. And we would go back into our community, we'd go back to our family, and we'd go back to our homes. And we would have dinner with our families, and we would talk about all the good things that were going on in our community, in our life, and in our family. And we had, I would say, a pretty excited view about what was potential for the future, simply because love was abundant outside the insane asylum, but it was just not living there very much. That's why we went there, is to share some love with those people, not to judge them. They were innocent by reason of insanity, no matter what they might have thought or have done, even in their lifetime. Sometimes things that were not, socially acceptable. Maybe there was some violence. Maybe they might have harmed other people or harmed themselves. And so they had to be at least restrained at some point, or in a level of integrity where we could stand up as a community and say, no, we're not going to allow people to hurt other people like this. And so, we're going to arrest you here from those conditions, and we're going to share love with you and help you grow as much as possible. And we hope that through the love that we share, that there will be some healing. And maybe the day will come when you can come back to our community and be a part of the love that lives there. Now,
I love that. And I have to tell you, this last week, I was pretty blissed out and felt like I was really in the flow. And I didn't watch the news at all. And so what I'm kind of just curious about is, like, people will make a comment, what, have you been living under a rock or whatever? And it's like, I don't know. My happiness was high level happiness. I was joyful. I was having great interactions with family and friends. And I was down in Miami with work and hit the beach one day and rode my scooter around. And I was just having a great experience in this heaven on earth. And it just makes me curious, do I have a human obligation to, come out from under the rock and turn on the TV and get bombarded with all this information that people are trying to tell me is so important in my life?
Well, that's a great question, Jason. There's a lot of ideas about what's right, what's wrong, whether or not we should make sacrifice to help other people. That's a mark of our character. There's lots of conversations about the shoulds and shouldn'ts of the world. But if we really wanted to know what we should do, and we had the potential of calling up an enlightened master, like, well, let's just say Jesus, and we could call him up anytime we wanted to, or we could connect with our soul, our true self, that never lived inside the house of illusion. And that's just another name for an insane asylum, because the house of illusion is contained within the house of truth. But if we're going to live in the house of illusion, we're going to have to kind of deal with the illusions of the people there and the insanity that lives there. But if we really want to know with certainty, without any doubt whatsoever, what we are here to do, what our purpose is, wouldn't the best thing we could do would be to get in touch and have a dialogue with Jesus or our higher self or God or Buddha, any master? But at the end of the day, Christ consciousness, which is our inheritance, is available to us at any time. We kind of have to walk outside of the house of illusion to have that experience. But we can leave the house of illusion anytime we want to. So to answer your question, I really want to pose a question in both cases. Do we want to persist and live in a house of illusion and try to navigate through that and work through that, or leave it altogether, because those people there will figure out what they need over time without our assistance whatsoever, and we can spend our time being in listening to the voice of God, literally, and experiencing joy, peace, love, and bliss, and abundance, and health. I mean, everything in our experience changes dramatically when we become expressing of the truth of who we are. So what is our choice? To judge what we should or shouldn't do, or pick up the phone, so to speak, and dial into your heart space where Christ consciousness resides, and ask the question, and then, here's the hard part, listen, and be guided by the voice of love. Which would you prefer to do?
Well, I have to tell you, it felt so good this week, just being away from all of that. And I felt like I was in the flow, and I was with nature, and I was on the beach, and man, it felt great. And it does feel great because I'm still there. I just have to say it at times, like when people would make comments of like, you know, what do you think of this? And I don't even have enough information to know who's doing what to who or whatever for this political stuff. I couldn't care less. And that perception that I have when I feel like I'm just like blissed out on love and enjoying my surroundings, not on drugs, but it feels like I'm on like this amazing, you know, God drug. It feels a little isolating because there's so much. It just seems like almost everyone is like so involved in wanting to drag you in, and when you don't play with their negativity and their fear, it is a little bit isolating. Sometimes you just feel like I probably should have just picked up the phone and called you, Brother T, because it felt pretty isolating. It felt like maybe I was the only one that was in this dream, but my dream was pretty dang nice, I have to say. And I still feel like I'm on that vibration. I'm riding that vibration. And today I was sitting here and some workers came in and they cut my internet, and my internet was down. And, you know, I just thought, well, our podcast is going to be delayed a little bit, but what else? Let's see. I guess I'm going to walk the dog. I guess I'm going to do dishes. I guess I'm going to clean the kitchen. You know, I mean, it was, I didn't let it really get to me. And I have to really say, I mean, I don't really want to deal with the negativity, and I guess when I step back and I'm like so happy, it's like, you know, what is this? Am I ignorant to what's actually going on? Am I not in the real world? You know, because I guess that's the only conflict I really have, is because people are so insistent that I need to be in the real world. I need to be knowing what's going on with Musk and Trump. Honestly, I still don't know what's going on with Musk and Trump. I heard there's a little falling out, but I'm more concerned about if I could feel this good all the time, just like being present and being in God love. This is way better than any news station, I tell you that.
Well, I would agree, of course, but I just, you know, it seems simple, really, because it is. Because you're either choosing, and you're the one deciding, to live in the house of illusion or to live in the house of truth. The world, unfortunately, is designed by the default operating system we call the ego. Most of the people in the world, billions and billions of people, have no idea that they even have a choice. They don't even realize they are living and existing in a house of illusion. It's sometimes okay, but it can be very much a nightmare, and it can be horrifying. And, you know, there's a struggle, and there's sacrifice, and there's just trying to exist and trying to survive economically, emotionally, relationship-wise, and health-wise. And we could add a couple of more things to that. But the point I want to make is, if we're not imprisoned there by anything other than our choice to live in the house of illusion, what we are about here at True Thought is helping people first and foremost to know that they have a choice. That's pretty important. And then once you realize you have a choice, you have to unlearn all of the things that the world has taught you for many decades, for most of us, and probably very, very likely many, many lifetimes. Because until you know you have a choice, until you can wake up and realize that you actually have a choice to live in the house of illusion of insanity in the insane asylum or walk out the door, you stay there. But the world is designed to draw you in. You know, last week, every week I send out an email, and you can join our overall email list at truethought.us if you're not receiving those weekly emails. But on our Substack page, and you can go there at truethought.org and you can join there. I send out emails every day, and we talk about, that's kind of our learning center where we're teaching you principles of spiritual principles and spiritual principles of miracles and things like that. The point of all of this is that you have to unlearn the world and simultaneously begin to learn the truth about the house of truth. The world of illusion, the house of illusion, is contained within the house of truth. So imagine this huge, big circle on a big, huge piece of paper, and it's this big circle, and then in the very center of it, you can just barely see it, is a dot. That dot is the house of illusion. That's the world. But you can reside anywhere outside of that dot, and what's holding you in that dot, that little prison that we've created, is our thinking, our stinking thinking. Judgment, blame, guilt, fear, shame. It's a whole list of attributes that the ego has that keeps us in the house of illusion. But it's just this little dot in this universe of love. But you have to be willing to let go of the siren song of the house of illusion, which is fear, fear, fear. So I was mentioning the email because last Sunday I sent out an email and talked about how it's all I see on all of media anymore is just fear. That I almost never see, I have to seek it out. I have to search for it to find a channel like the Second Coming here on YouTube as an example, where we're actually literally talking and sharing principles of love. And our thumbnails aren't very attractive, and our topics aren't fearful, because we're talking about love. And love is great if you can escape the house of illusion, but the fear is such a powerful energy for most people, because I got to click on this video because maybe there's something I better protect myself from. Maybe there's something like what's going on in the government. You know, Donald Trump, oh my God, half of the world hates Donald Trump. He must be a horrible person. Well, half the world loves Donald Trump. Maybe he's the greatest guy ever. That's all in the house of illusion. If you're giving your awareness and attention to that, you're in prison. And you're listening to the voice of fear. Step outside that door. Make a conscious choice. And yes, you're going to feel isolated because billions and billions and billions of people don't even know they have a choice to step out into the house of truth. We know that here. we're listening to our brother Jesus, who's channeling through several different, mediums, A Course in Miracles, A Course of Love, A Journey into the Unknown, Tina Louise Spalding, channeling Jesus and Ananda. And then, of course, we have the Way of Mastery. The 4 keys to the kingdom is desire. I desire to get out of the house of illusion. Intention, well, set your intention. Well, don't spend any energy looking inside the windows or walking in the door of the house. Get outside of the house of illusion. Set an intention so that you're not constantly trapped inside the house of illusion. Set an environment at home where you're not watching shows that scare the hell out of you or dialing into the news. Turn it off. And finally, number 3 is acceptance. And so what you've been sharing and what I was hearing when you're sharing, Jason, was that you've begun to accept that you have to kind of deal with being isolated to some degree to get out of that insanity. And indeed you do. But here we are right now having this conversation. Do you fear fear? I would say no. I don't feel any fear. I feel love.
I don't feel any fear with, yeah.
Right. And you're not alone. You're not isolated. We're here together. And that's what our community is about. Is about helping people find other people who are committed to sanity, committed to awakening from an illusory dream of separation, which never existed, but it's so powerful, it's like a nightmare. And we believe we're somewhere that we're not, like we do every night when we go to sleep. We'll have a nightmare and not realize we're safe at home in bed. Well, you're safe at home in the mind of God. You're safe at home in heaven. That's where you really reside. And your Christ consciousness is tapping you on the shoulder and asking for you to make space so that it can express through you. Because Jesus needs help. And that's our purpose here, is to help him bring truth to the world and help people escape the house of illusion.
I love that, Brother T. And I have to just kind of expand on how great this week was. And I encourage you to turn off the news this week. That's all I'm saying. It was so nice, and I know people think that you're going to miss out on something. I'm sure people think that I missed out on a whole bunch of stuff the last couple of weeks, but I have to tell you, I am blissed out. And Brother T being able to share, thoughts and love with you, and we talked on the phone the other day, and it's just a really great vibe to that. And I kind of feel like if I would just stay in this vibe, other things would just fall away, and the like-minded people that want to vibe and play in my playground will show up. Maybe they won't. Maybe I'll just keep being isolated. But I'm not fearful of that. I'm not fearful of the isolation. I'm just actually really blissed out on love this week, and I don't have a lot of stuff to say other than I think it's okay to turn off the news for a little bit. And sorry if I'm not sure what's going on with all the details of the different.
Who are you sorry to?
I'm feeling pretty.
Why
nice.
do you think other people are thinking of you?
They're
just thinking about protecting themselves from all that bullshit. Nobody's thinking about what you're doing, Jason. They're trying to protect themselves from the house of illusion because they're living in it. You stepped outside for a couple of days, and if you enjoyed the experience, do that again this week, and the week after that, and the week after that. And when you find that space, and you'll make that space to allow yourself to be informed by the voice of love, you will start experiencing thoughts that are not your thoughts. And you will start finding guidance that comes directly from your own heart, the voice of certainty. It's real, it's happening, and more people are awakening to it. And I think many people that are devoted to our community here at True Thought are beginning to have those kinds of experiences. I'm getting it almost continuously now. And why wouldn't we be happy? Why wouldn't we be blissed out? Because we discovered the keys to the kingdom. The last key is surrender. And what are we surrendering? We're surrendering our ideas of what we're supposed to do. Because when you're in union with the voice of love, your true self, You know exactly what to do because that self is not uncertain. So the ego moves further and further back. The time of learning begins to fade into the distance. And the time of acceptance, the third key to the kingdom, is where we are in an in-between time, literally. Time outside of time, where we're literally making an effort, a dedicated effort, an intentional effort to be in union, in communication, in dialogue with our true self. That's called enlightenment. It's also called Christ. More of God in form on earth. In A Course of Love, it's called the elevated self of form. That's why you raised your hand and came here, and that's why you're a part of the second coming. That's why you're a part of True Thought, Jason, because you saw something here of value, and you went towards this thing of value, and you turned your back on the things that are not valuable. The house of illusion.
Absolutely. And, my reality isn't without fear. Tomorrow, actually, I leave to go to Houston, Texas for my cancer checkup. And people that are in my reality know that, and they wish me luck, or they pray for a good outcome, and I pray for a good outcome also. But what I've been reminding myself and them is, presently, in my present human state, I feel great. And even if I have news that isn't in that vibration and it's something that blindsides me, in a way, that's just part of this life. And I'm okay, because right now, even if I had bad news, the bad news doesn't affect my present. Right now, I feel great. And so if someone is telling me that I shouldn't feel great, I can still pause and feel great at the moment. I don't have to carry the baggage of what might be.
I don't. Who would be telling you that you don't feel great?
I was just saying,
that you shouldn't feel
test
great.
results come in that
who
say
are
I
these
shouldn't be
people?
feeling great.
Who are these people? And
Right.
if they're around you, then don't hang out with them.
Well, some
Let
of
me
them are
ask you a question,
doctors or
Jason.
whatever. You know what
Let's
I
say
mean?
that
I'm
you
just saying,
were Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Would you be worried about anything?
No.
Why not?
I mean, this blissed out present moment, beautiful life of joy and happiness is.
Do you think that Jesus was afraid of physical illness?
No, not at all.
Why not? Why not? Maybe there were people that didn't like him. They crucified him.
Yeah.
Was he afraid of the crucifixion? He wasn't even afraid of the crucifixion.
Right.
Why not?
Well, you said he wasn't even there. He said he was watching from the
Well, he
hill.
did, but why wasn't he afraid?
Because it was his body. It wasn't his soul.
No, because he knew who he was.
Oh, nice.
He knew he was a divine expression of God. And that's what you are. You're not different in any way, shape, form, or fashion, except in what you believe about yourself.
I like that.
I had surgery recently,
Right.
and I couldn't have been happier. I didn't care what the outcome was because I know who I am. I have nothing to fear. I'm invulnerable. You're invulnerable. You're perfect, neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. It's got nothing to do with what anybody else ever says about me or you. It's about what we believe about ourselves. And if we believe, this is beyond faith, becomes a knowing. Faith is maybe it's out there, but it's invisible, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll have faith in it. I know God is real. I know healing is true. I know who I am in truth. There's absolutely nothing to fear because that self that I am expressing as right now in this moment knows no fear because it's not part of what it is. Jesus wasn't afraid of sickness and illness. He was going around healing people of that. How was he doing that? By removing their belief in fear. And when you align with truth, your body literally begins to regenerate. Literally. You'll find that conversation in the 40 days section, the last section of A Course of Love. There's so much to learn, but we live in an if this, then that world. And we here at True Thought are beginning to let go of those shackles as well. Because there's nothing or anyone, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. It only matters if you get in touch with your true self, that you know who you are because you are expressing who you are, and that becomes your reality. A new world is taking shape, and it's called Heaven on Earth. And you are standing at the threshold of it, Jason, because I know who you are.
Thank you, Brother T. Thank you. And thank you, everyone out there. TrueThought.us to get on the mailing list. TrueThought.org. Support.TrueThought. Brother T, thank you for being our minister. Thank you for being our guidance. Thank you for being our light. And thank everyone in this community that's joining us. Give me some talking subjects. So next week when I dial up Brother T, that we can all sit here and I can pick out John or Colleen's or somebody's name out of the hat and take their question. I'd love that. So thank
Fantastic.
you, Brother T.
Well, Jason, thank you for everything you're doing for our community. Thank you for being a co-host here on the Second Coming podcast, and it's truly my honor and my pleasure to be in your company, my brother.
My pleasure is all mine, Brother T, and thank everyone. And I will see you next week on another episode of The Second Coming.
It will be so. Behold, we make all things new. God is, God is, God is.